Great morning, you guys. Welcome to Triple M Monday Morning Motivation. We got the whole family fired up. Prez is fired up. Our success assistant extraordinaire Orlando is fired up. And we got all you guys tuning in fired up on a Monday morning. See people doing their cardio, see people getting fly for work, already at work. So I'm excited. Today we're going to be having an amazing Triple M Monday Morning Motivation. Like always, intention is to start the week strong. We got a great video today that we're going to be listening to. It's a TED Talk. If you've never heard of TED Talks, it's a great conference that goes around and has the top minds come and share their expertise, their ability, their experience. This is a TED Talks with over 9 million views. So when you see that, you got to know that it's giving a lot of people value, or else they wouldn't have 9 million views. There's not a lot of videos that have 9 million views. So this TED Talks is going to be talking about the importance of body language and posture and how it affects us, how you can understand it, and also how you can use it to your benefit. And I really like this because posture creates emotion if you didn't know it. Like, think about when you feel like this, and think about when you feel like this. A little thing such as 2 degrees, we learned that Tony Robbins can make all the difference. You walk into a room like this, you communicate, confidence. You communicate that you know what you're doing. People will subconsciously pick that up versus if you go like this. They'll be like, you're not confident. You don't know what you're talking about. So little things like that, just something so small as that, can make all the difference for you in understanding what you're communicating to people and then how to use it to your advantage. So without further ado, get your notebooks ready too, because at the end we're going to be having some live success shares. I'm excited to hear from you guys. So without further ado, let's get to TED Talks, the power of body language.
So I want to start by offering you a free, no-tech life hack. And all it requires of you is this, that you change your posture for 2 minutes. But before I give it away, I want to ask you to right now do a little audit of your body and what you're doing with your body. So how many of you are sort of making yourselves smaller? Maybe you're hunching, crossing your legs, maybe wrapping your ankles. Sometimes we hold on to our arms like this. Sometimes we spread out. I see you. So I want you to pay attention to what you're doing right now. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes, and I'm hoping that if you sort of learn to tweak this a little bit, it could significantly change the way your life unfolds. So we're really fascinated with body language, and we're particularly interested in other people's body language. We're interested in, an awkward interaction, or a smile, or a contemptuous glance, or maybe a very awkward wink, or maybe even something like a handshake.
Here they are arriving at number 10, and look at this lucky policeman gets to shake hands with the President of the United States. Oh, and here comes the Prime Minister of it. No.
So a handshake, or the lack of a handshake, can have us talking for weeks and weeks and weeks, even the BBC and the New York Times. So obviously, when we think about nonverbal behavior or body language, but we call it nonverbals as social scientists, it's language. So we think about communication. When we think about communication, we think about interactions. So what is your body language communicating to me? What's mine communicating to you? And there's a lot of reason to believe that this is a valid way to look at this. So social scientists have spent a lot of time looking at the effects of our body language or other people's body language on judgments. And we make sweeping judgments and inferences from body language. And those judgments can predict really meaningful life outcomes, like who we hire or promote, who we ask out on a date. For example, Nalini Ambady, a researcher at Tufts University, shows that when people watch 30-second soundless clips of real physician-patient interactions, their judgments of the physician's niceness predict whether or not that physician will be sued. So it doesn't have to do so much with whether or not that physician was incompetent, but do we like that person and how they interacted? Even more dramatic, Alex Todorov at Princeton has shown us that judgments of political candidates' faces in just 1 second predict 70% of US Senate and gubernatorial race outcomes. And even, let's go digital, emoticons used well in online negotiations can lead you to claim more value from that negotiation. If you use them poorly, bad idea, right? So So when we think of nonverbals, we think of how we judge others, how they judge us, and what the outcomes are. We tend to forget, though, the other audience that's influenced by our nonverbals, and that's ourselves. We are also influenced by our nonverbals, our thoughts and our feelings and our physiology. So what nonverbals am I talking about? I'm a social psychologist, I study prejudice, and I teach at a competitive business school. So it was inevitable that I would become interested in power dynamics. I became especially interested in nonverbal expressions of power and dominance. And what are nonverbal expressions of power and dominance? Well, this is what they are. So in the animal kingdom, they are about expanding. So you make yourself big, you stretch out, you take up space, you're basically opening up. It's about opening up. And this is true across the animal kingdom. It's not just limited to primates, and humans do the same thing. So they do this both when they have power sort of chronically, and also when they're feeling powerful in the moment. And this one is especially interesting because it really shows us how universal and old these expressions of power are. This expression, which is known as pride, Jessica Tracy has studied, she shows that people who are born with sight and people who are congenitally blind do this when they win at a physical competition. So when they cross the finish line and they've won, it doesn't matter if they've never seen anyone do it, they do this. So the arms up in the V, the chin is slightly lifted. What do we do when we feel powerless? We do exactly the opposite. We close up, we wrap ourselves up, we make ourselves small. We don't want to bump into the person next to us. So again, both animals and humans do the same thing. And this is what happens when you put together high and low power. So what we tend to do when it comes to power is that we complement the other's nonverbals. So if someone's being really powerful with us, we tend to make ourselves smaller. We don't mirror them, we do the opposite of them. So I'm watching this behavior in the classroom, and what do I notice? I notice that MBA students really exhibit the full range of power nonverbals. So you have people who are like caricatures of alphas, like really coming into the room, they get right into the middle of the room before class even starts, like they really want to occupy space. When they sit down, they're sort of spread out, they raise their hands like this. You have other people who are virtually collapsing when they come in. As soon as they come in, you see it. You see it on their faces and their bodies, and they sit in their chair and they make themselves tiny, and they go like this when they raise their hand. I noticed a couple things about this. One, you're not going to be surprised, it seems to be related to gender. So women are much more likely to do this kind of thing than men. Women feel chronically less powerful than men, so this is not surprising. But the other thing I noticed is that it also seemed to be related to the extent to which the students were participating and how well they were participating. And this is really important in the MBA classroom because participation counts for half the grade. So business schools have been struggling with this gender grade gap. You get these equally qualified women and men coming in, and then you get these differences in grades, and it seems to be partly attributable to participation. So I started to wonder, okay, so you have these people coming in like this, and they're participating. Is it possible that we could get people to fake it, and would it lead them to participate more? So my main collaborator, Dana Carney, who's at Berkeley, and I really wanted to know, can you fake it till you make it? Like, can you do this just for a little while and actually experience a behavioral outcome that makes you seem more powerful? So we know that our nonverbals govern how other people think and feel about us. There's a lot of evidence, but our question really was, do our nonverbals govern how we think and feel about ourselves? There's some evidence that they do. So, for example, when we smile when we feel happy, but also when we're forced to smile by holding a pen in our teeth like this, it makes us feel happy. So it goes both ways. When it comes to power, it also goes both ways. So when you feel powerful, you're more likely to do this, but it's also possible that when you pretend to be powerful, you are more likely to actually feel powerful. So the second question really was, so we know that our minds change our bodies, but is it also true that our bodies change our minds? And when I say minds, in the case of the powerful, what am I talking about? So I'm talking about thoughts and feelings and the sort of physiological things that make up our thoughts and feelings. And in my case, that's hormones. I look at hormones. So what do the minds of the powerful versus the powerless look like? So powerful people tend to be, not surprisingly, more assertive and more confident, more optimistic. They actually feel that they're going to win even at games of chance. They also tend to be able to think more abstractly. So there are a lot of differences. They take more risks. There are a lot of differences between powerful and powerless people. Physiologically, there also are differences on two key hormones, testosterone, which is the dominance hormone, and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So what we find is that high-power alpha males in primate hierarchies have high testosterone and low cortisol. And powerful and effective leaders also have high testosterone and low cortisol. So what does that mean? When you think about power, people tended to think only about testosterone because that was about dominance. But really, power is also about how you react to stress. So do you want the high power leader that's dominant, high on testosterone, but really stress reactive? Probably not, right? You want the person who's powerful and assertive and dominant, but not very stress reactive, the person who's laid back. So we know that in primate hierarchies, if an alpha needs to take over, if an individual needs to take over an alpha role sort of suddenly, within a few days, that individual's testosterone has gone up significantly and his cortisol has dropped significantly. So we have this evidence, both that the body can shape the mind, at least at the facial level, and also that role changes can shape the mind. So what happens, okay, you take a role change, what happens if you do that at a really minimal level, like this tiny manipulation, this tiny intervention? For 2 minutes you say, I want you to stand like this, and it's going to make you feel more powerful. So this is what we did. We decided to bring people into the lab and run a little experiment, and these people adopted for 2 minutes either high power poses or low power poses. And I'm just going to show you 5 of the poses, although they took on only 2. So here's one, couple more. This one has been dubbed the Wonder Woman by the media. Here are a couple more. So you can be standing or you can be sitting. And here are the low power poses. So you're folding up, you're making yourself small. This one is very low power. When you're touching your neck, you're really kind of protecting yourself. So this is what happens. They come in, they spit into a vial. We, for 2 minutes, say, you need to do this or this. They don't look at pictures of the poses. We don't want to prime them with the concept of power. We want them to be feeling power, right? So 2 minutes they do this. We then ask them, how powerful do you feel on a series of items? And then we give them an opportunity to gamble. And then we take another saliva sample. That's it. That's the whole experiment. So this is what we find. Risk tolerance, which is the gambling. What we find is that when you're in the high power pose condition, 86% of you will gamble. When you're in the low power pose condition, only 60%. And that's a pretty whopping significant difference. Here's what we find on testosterone. From their baseline when they come in, high power people experience about a 20% increase. And low-power people experience about a 10% decrease. So again, 2 minutes and you get these changes. Here's what you get on cortisol. High-power people experience about a 25% decrease, and the low-power people experience about a 15% increase. So 2 minutes lead to these hormonal changes that configure your brain to basically be either assertive, confident, and comfortable, or really stress reactive, and feeling sort of shut down. And we've all had that feeling, right? So it seems that our nonverbals do govern how we think and feel about ourselves. So it's not just others, but it's also ourselves. Also, our bodies change our minds. But the next question, of course, is, can power posing for a few minutes really change your life in meaningful ways? So this is in the lab, it's this little task, it's just a couple of minutes. Where can you actually apply this, which we cared about, of course. And so we think it's really, what matters, I mean, where you want to use this is evaluative situations, like social threat situations. Where are you being evaluated? Either by your friends, like for teenagers, it's at the lunchroom table. It could be, for some people, it's speaking at a school board meeting. It might be giving a pitch, or giving a talk like this, or doing a job interview. We decided that the one that most people could relate to, because most people had been through, was the job interview. So we published these findings, and the media are all over it, and they say, okay, so this is what you do when you go in for the job interview, right? So we were, of course, horrified, and said, oh my God, no, that's not what we meant at all, for numerous reasons. No, don't do that. Again, this is not about you talking to other people, it's you talking to yourself. What do you do before you go into a job interview? You do this. Right? You're sitting down, you're looking at your iPhone or your Android, not trying to leave anyone out. You're looking at your notes, you're hunching up, making yourself small, when really what you should be doing maybe is this, like in the bathroom, right? Do that, find 2 minutes. So that's what we want to test, okay? So we bring people into a lab, and they do either high or low power poses again. They go through a very stressful job interview. It's 5 minutes long. They are being recorded, they're being judged also, and the judges are trained to give no nonverbal feedback. So they look like this. Like, imagine this is the person interviewing you. So for 5 minutes, nothing. And this is worse than being heckled. People hate this. It's what Marianne LaFrance calls standing in social quicksand. So this really spikes your cortisol. So this is the job interview we put them through, because we really wanted to see what happened. We then have these coders look at these tapes, 4 of them. They're blind to the hypothesis, they're blind to the conditions, they have no idea who's been posing in what pose. And they end up looking at these sets of tapes, and they say, oh, we want to hire these people, all the high power posers, we don't want to hire these people. We also evaluate these people much more positively overall. But what's driving it? It's not about the content of the speech. It's about the presence that they're bringing to the speech. We also, because we rate them on all these variables related to sort of competence, like how well structured is the speech? How good is it? What are their qualifications? No effect on those things. This is what's affected. These kinds of things. People are bringing their true selves, basically. They're bringing themselves. They bring their ideas, but as themselves, with no, residue over them. So this is what's driving the effect, or mediating the effect. So when I tell people about this, that our bodies change our minds, and our minds can change our behavior, and our behavior can change our outcomes, they say to me, it feels fake, right? So I said, fake it till you make it. It's not me. I don't want to get there and then still feel like a fraud. I don't want to feel like an imposter. I don't want to get there only to feel like I'm not supposed to be here. And that really resonated with me, because I want to tell you a little story about being an imposter and feeling like I'm not supposed to be here. When I was 19, I was in a really bad car accident. I was thrown out of a car, rolled several times. I was thrown from the car, and I woke up in a head injury rehab ward, and I had been withdrawn from college, and I learned that my IQ had dropped by 2 standard deviations, which was very traumatic. I knew my IQ because I had identified with being smart, and I had been called gifted as a child. So I'm taken out of college. I keep trying to go back. They say, you're not going to finish college. There are other things for you to do, but that's not going to work out for you. So I really struggled with this. And I have to say, having your identity taken from you, your core identity, and for me it was being smart, having that taken from you, there's nothing that leaves you feeling more powerless than that. So I felt entirely powerless. I worked and worked and worked, and I got lucky and worked and got lucky and worked. Eventually I graduated from college. It took me 4 years longer than my peers, and I convinced someone, my angel advisor, Susan Fisk, to take me on. And so I ended up at Princeton, and I was like, I am not supposed to be here. I am an imposter. And the night before my first year talk, and the first year talk at Princeton is a 20-minute talk to 20 people. That's it. I was so afraid of being found out the next day that I called her and said, I'm quitting. She was like, you are not quitting, because I took a gamble on you and you're staying. You're going to stay, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to fake it. You're going to do every talk that you ever get asked to do. You're just going to do it and do it and do it, even if you're terrified and just paralyzed and having an out-of-body experience, until you have this moment where you say, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. Like, I have become this. I am actually doing this. So that's what I did. 5 years in grad school. A few years, I'm at Northwestern. I moved to Harvard. I'm at Harvard. I'm not really thinking about it anymore, but for a long time I had been thinking, not supposed to be here, not supposed to be here. So at the end of my first year at Harvard, a student who had not talked in class the entire semester, who I had said, look, you gotta participate or else you're gonna fail, came into my office. I really didn't know her at all. And she came in totally defeated, and she said, I'm not supposed to be here. And that was the moment for me, because two things happened. One was that I realized, oh my gosh, I don't feel like that anymore. I don't feel that anymore, but she does, and I get that feeling. And the second was, she is supposed to be here. Like, she can fake it, she can become it. So I was like, yes, you are. You are supposed to be here, and tomorrow you're gonna fake it, you're gonna make yourself powerful, and you're gonna... and you're gonna go into the classroom, and you are gonna give the best comment ever, And she gave the best comment ever, and people turned around, they were like, oh my God, I didn't even notice her sitting there,
Awesome. Great video. Man, that was powerful. I think I accidentally put the wrong meeting number on the thing.
Did.
So I learned. Okay, awesome. Let's get some quick takeaways. I let it run a little long because it got really powerful at the end. That was awesome. All right, what do you got?
Man. I absolutely love this video. It was so epic, and you were able to learn so much for it just from posturing. Even as she was talking, I was observing some of the things that I used to do. I remember for a big part of my life when I was a little bit younger, my mom would always tell me something and almost get mad because I would always have my shoulders rotated forward. And really, I remember at that time in my life where I was at mentally. So I obviously in that state, I couldn't have this posture. And as time has progressed and my confidence and the working on myself and all of these things have taken place, I can see myself now in the high power kind of when I am a high power, when I'm being a low power. But I really love this because it brings these things to your awareness. And really, although you may not fully on notice sometimes where you're at, but it does send a signal to other people. And other people are attracted to somebody who's passionate, who's somebody that's confident, who's somebody that's that they have their a certain presence and a certain aura. So for me, it's just really observing the people that are powerful, that have the certain lifestyles that are who they are, and to really observe their posturing and the way that they move in order to continue to keep working on ourselves in order to fully be able to empower and embody that.
Awesome. Love it. For me, I took away a few things. I'm going to stand up for this. This is actually why I stand up. So motion creates emotion. That's what I took from this. And they said, you can do it both ways. The mind affects the body. If you don't feel good mentally, you're upset, you're unconfident, you're going to stoop. But they also said the body affects the mind. When you do the positioning first, it starts to change the testosterone and cortisol levels in your brain within 2 minutes. That was crazy. So really what I took from this is being more aware of my posture and how can I utilize that to my benefit. Meaning, they said use it before evaluative experiences. For me, I took that down. Wellness evaluations for us Herbalife members. Public speaking. Maybe you're going to share your story. Before Fit Camp, if you have guests coming. At events, if you have your guests coming to events, you have team members at events. The more powerful you feel, the more it changes the way you think. But also the biggest thing, I got this from one of our events from Chairman's member Kurt O'Connell. He said, when people are getting started, especially, we all say the same things. The Herbalife products are all the same. Whatever you're doing in your job, if you're not at Herbalife, it's not the difference between you and the person next to you. You guys have the same information. But why are different people more successful or less successful? He said, I can't hear you because your beliefs are speaking too loud. Meaning that most of what we say, I want you to think back to when you started your Herbalife program or joined the team. Do you remember what was said in your wellness evaluation or when you asked about the team, or do you remember more what you felt? And really, they call this presence. And this is crucial because if you feel like you have a strong presence or not, now you have a tool to create in you a strong presence, and it's called fake it till you make it. They said, what do you do before an interview? What do you do before a wellness evaluation? What do you do before you meet with a team member? Are you sitting there on your phone? Are you curled up? Or are you going to be standing up erect, expanded? Now you get to create your posture effectively. I remember I heard a leader say, hey, stand like you believe the most powerful CEO would stand. You would never see a powerful CEO like this. They would be standing upright because they have to hold on for the leadership role inside of their company. You get to be that leader. So I really took that on as now I get to not only have my emotions try to be upbeat and positive, but now I get to also intentionally create my posture and my emotions. You're always talking about thinking positive and positivity, but now you get to also reflect that. I get to also reflect that in my posture, and I now know that my posture will more impact my positive thinking now. So I'm going to start to take this on more, whether it's before speaking, whether it's before meeting with a potential client or team member. I'm going to implement this and change my brain chemistry. I'm excited about this. Orlando, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure, I have a small takeaway.
Let's get it. What you got?
It makes a lot of sense at a retail job I worked at until March of this year. I noticed how my conflict with two of the supervisors there were, I guess, coming from a little jealousy because of the way the coworkers would come to me before they come to the supervisors. And I guess it's because of the way I carried myself at the job. But I had to learn to do that over the years because going out on the sales floor, well, I don't know, we get a couple of thousand customers a day sometimes. You have to be like ready to help them and energetic even if you don't feel like being that way. But it makes a lot of sense. I've definitely seen it happen.
Nice. Awesome. Fake it until you make it. Soon, one day, like the lady said, you'll become the inspiration for somebody that doesn't feel like they've made it yet because they've seen you fake it so long that you become that. Remember, you get to create, she said you get to create your identity. She had her identity taken away from her, felt like she was smart. Now she felt like she wasn't because of the brain injury. She faked it so much that she got back into Harvard and recreated her identity. That was powerful. Let's get 1 to 2 shares from the call-in line. Hands up if you're excited to share. Let's get it. All right, James, I'm going to unmute you, and then you're on. You're good to go, bro.
Yeah, what's up, guys? First off, man, thanks for picking this video right here. This brings me back to 3 years ago when I first got on like my personal development and started everything. I remember this is like one of the first videos I ever watched for personal development, and it's done so much for me. And you know, I really take in the heart, you know, like how you walk into a room really counts. You know, it really matters how you walk into a room. When you walk in with your chest up, your shoulders back, making sure that, you know, you're feeling good, making sure that you're showing your team that, you know, you feel good and they feel awesome. There's been so many times where I tell my team, you know, like, fake it till you make it. You know, just these people don't know who you are. For instance, one time we threw a fit camp. It was in a different town. We had a week to promote it. We thought maybe 12 people were going to show up. Ended up 80 people showed up between me, this new coach, and another new coach. And I just told the girls, hey, right now, you're the best thing going in Herbalife. You got to fake it till you make it. These people have no clue what Herbalife is, and you just become the best thing possible. And we got out the car not knowing what to do, but just had the confidence and the belief that we could be something with these people, for these people. And then, you know, ended up out of that just getting members and getting new clients. And it was an awesome experience. But it was because of this video really showing us that, hey, we could, you know, think our way to success, you know, just believe that we are a powerful person. And I know a lot of our team here in Fresno, we do have those auras about us and that presence about us. And sometimes we just got to show it all the time. And, you know, I see a lot of the people in a president's team, mill team, the way that you guys carry yourself is awesome at these events. So we just try to reflect that. You know, that I just don't want to take anything, but that's, you know, what I got from the video.
Powerful stuff. Thank you for sharing. I love it. Fake it till you make it. You get to create your identity. You said you get to be the best thing in Herbalife. I love it. And that's so powerful. You get to take on that identity. Let's get one more share. Who's excited to share? Let me see a hand up or a smile. Let's see. Brooks, Joseph, Gladys, Sarah. I see you guys on. Let's get it. Candelari, can you speak?
Yeah, I can speak. Sorry, you guys. I'm trying to get rid of a really bad headache before I go into work, so it's extremely dark in my room right now.
Let's get it.
So here's my takeaway from that. My whole life, like, my mom has always talked about our posture. My mom and dad have always carried themselves very strong. So I've always been that type of person that carried myself. And so it was recognized. And growing up, a lot of people wouldn't approach me because I had that very confident stance. But the problem is when they did approach me and I had that confident stance, what I didn't have was a positive attitude. So they saw this confident person, but when they got into my energy, it was extremely negative. So it wasn't what they were expecting. And so as life has gone on, I have slowly improved that. And over like the last year, and even not even over last year, let me just give Herbalife a lot of props. Over the last, since I started doing Fit Club with Susie and everything, and even since I became a coach, a lot of stuff has changed. And my parents are just like, wow, we don't know what's going on with you, but things are amazing. And so it's because I've been learning how to change my attitude and how to be more positive. So now I already have that confident stance, but now I have that positive attitude, that energy, that light that draws everybody in. So when they get to me, they're like, man, this guy's confident and he has a positive attitude. And when things happen, I just learn to let stuff roll off back. Prime example, 4 months ago, I gave up my car so that I could start biking into work or everywhere so that I could increase my fitness going closer to 40. And I got out of work about a month ago, and I was walking up. I had my keys in my hand, unlocked my bike, but guess what wasn't there? My bike. The very first thought that came to my mind was not, oh, man, blah, blah, negativity. It was like, I guess someone needed that bike a little bit more than me. I really hope they get some good use out of it. Because I was so positive about that and I put that positivity out on my social media, I had a friend turn around and tell me, I really love your energy around this situation. You haven't been negative. And she turned around and she gifted me a brand new bike just because of my positive attitude. And so, and that really was how I felt. I really felt that the universe gave that bike to somebody else because they really needed it. It didn't get stolen from me. Somebody needed it. So I was willing to give it out there. Because I was working and I could afford to get another one. But instead of having to spend my money, a friend turned around and said, here. And my mom had to fight me to take that bike. And the reason why is because I wanted her to give it to someone that could really use it because I could once again afford one. And she was like, don't be silly, honey. Get the bike and put that energy back out in the universe. So that's exactly what I did. So I'm just learning, carry yourself and always be positive because you can walk strong. But what's your attitude when people approach you?
Nice. Awesome story, man. Great stuff. Love the mindset. Man, that was a great story. Great Triple M today. You guys, I apologize. I put the wrong meeting ID on the flyer. I got to repost it and let people know. If you had some people that couldn't get on or were like, hey, this thing doesn't work, tell them Aubrey made a mistake, but I'm still standing strong. Let's get it. Going to be in my power pose when I post the updated meeting ID. But I'm going to upload this to YouTube. It was a great thing. If you guys can really understand the tool that you guys were given today, whether you're watching live or the recording, if you guys can utilize this, this is a little tool that can literally change your life. Faking it till you make it is such a true thing to create your new and empowering identity. And now you have a literal thing to change your brain chemistry. You don't need Prozac. You don't need a pill. You got something right now within 2 minutes that can raise your confidence levels, lower your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, which is standing in powerful positions intentionally throughout your day. And that is invaluable if you can really get what this just gave you. So thank you guys so much. Have an amazing Monday. It's going down like always. I'm going to take everybody off mute. Where y'all at? Hey! Time to get it, y'all. Happy Monday. Peace.